on some lotion. My hands get really dry and cracked in the winter time, but here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to yet another video. I am here at my fiance's house today. My house doesn't have Wi-Fi, so I'm here at her house about 5 days a week, uploading pictures and videos for work. But thought I'd take this time while everything's uploading to film another video. Today we're going to be talking about this beast right here, the Canon 1D-X Mark II. This camera is an absolute beast. Right now it's paired with my favorite lens, the 50mm. This lens is fantastic for portraits, great for low light. But today I'm going to be talking about, is this camera still relevant in 2021? Following its predecessor in 2012, the Canon 1D-X Mark II came out in 2016. Now I know what you're thinking. This camera's over 4 years old. How in the world would it still be relevant? When this camera came out in 2016, it revolutionized the photography, videography game. This camera has a 20 megapixel sensor. It shoots 4K at 60, 1080 at 120. It shoots pictures through the viewfinder at 14 frames a second and through the live screen mode at 16 frames a second. And not to mention the dual pixel autofocus and Canon's beautiful color science. Now I know what you're thinking. A 20 megapixel sensor doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, the new Canon R5 has 45.5 megapixels or something crazy like that. But honestly, I prefer a 20 megapixel sensor over that 45 megapixel sensor, especially when it comes to video. This sensor is 36 by 24 millimeters big. I know that doesn't sound huge, but let's compare it to some other cameras. The only camera that Red cameras, yes, those beautiful cinema cameras, the only camera that Red makes that has a bigger sensor is the Red Monstro 8K, which costs $55,000. Not even the Red 8K Helium, the Gemini 5K, the Dragon 6K, or even the new Komodo 6K has a bigger sensor than this camera. With it being 20 megapixels, here's what that means. Each individual pixel on the sensor is bigger, meaning it can take in more light, which means this camera performs phenomenally in low light situations. I have filmed every wedding I've done over the past 2.5 years on this camera, and never once have I needed an external light, even on those low light send-offs when the only thing lighting the image is sparklers. I have still gotten crisp and superb images all the time, and the only camera that I can really think that would top this in low light is the new Sony a7S III. Now, while I have debated switching to Sony and getting that camera, for now I think I want to hold on to this because A, I have all Canon glass, and B, I just don't want to invest the money into it. The Sony a7S III did kind of the same thing that this camera did. It has a less megapixel sensor, which got a lot of criticism when it first came out, but by having less megapixels and a bigger sensor, that means that this camera can perform phenomenally in low light, just like the 1D-X Mark II. So don't always get caught up in the megapixels. If it's a higher megapixel, that typically means that the camera's actually made for photographers and not videographers. Now, I'm not ratting on the EOS R5. If you're a photographer, that's a great camera. But Canon has yet to release a hybrid photo video camera like the 1D-X Mark II. Now they came out with the 1D-X Mark III, but it shoots in 6K at ridiculous file sizes. You blow through memory cards like it's no one's business, and not to mention its $6,500 price tag. While this one originally came out to be about $6,000 when it was first released in 2016, you can now get it for about $4,000 or cheaper if you buy used, which is roughly the price of the EOS R5 or the Sony a7S III. There are very few things that I don't like about this camera. The only two things being, first off, it doesn't have a flip-out touchscreen, which can kind of be annoying, mainly when I have it on my Rokinon RS2, and I'm trying to do a low shot, and you can't really see the screen. But that's where the RS2's Raven Eye system comes in, and I can just transmit it to my phone. But for those who don't have it, it can be kind of a hassle when you're either trying to vlog or you're trying to get a low shot where you can't really see the screen. The only other thing that I don't like is that at 1080 at 120, while the image is super smooth, it doesn't record audio. It automatically puts the file at a 30 frames per second slowed down to quarter speed. Now Sony and some of the newer cameras have it to where even if it's filmed at 120, it records the audio when you slow it down in post. Now while this isn't a huge issue because you could just do some sound design in post, it is kind of annoying that it's automatically transferred into a 30 frame per second file, especially when I like to edit in 24 frames per second. So those are really the only two things that I don't like about this camera. Now I have filmed every project over the last 2.5 years on this camera. From my senior portfolio documentary to goofy vlogs to my film life documentary to every wedding that I've shot since 2017. And this camera has exceeded expectations. I've also used this for photography for weddings and on travel, and the image quality is superb. Now, while the EOS R5 might have more megapixels, most of my pictures just go towards social media and online platforms, and I'm not really blowing them up to be huge banners, so I don't have to worry about those extra megapixels. The image quality is amazing. You can even get full autofocus reading at the 14 or 16 frames per second when taking photos. This camera is unmatched. The last thing that I want to highlight is when filming in 4K at either 24, 25, 30, or 60 frames per second, you get DCI 4K, which means that it's a little bit more widescreen and a little bit more cinematic. There's more pixels to the image, and in my opinion, I love that little bit wider screen look. While I am a little sad that you don't get C-Log in this like some of the newer cameras have, the image quality is phenomenal, and you can actually go into the settings and kind of hack a little bit to create your own user profile that looks like C-Log by just reducing the sharpness and the contrast. And honestly, the picture profile is amazing. It shoots in a 422 10-bit rate, and which is perfect for color grading. While you don't get C-Log in it, I have never had an issue grading this camera. I've been able to manipulate colors like crazy. I'm able to bring down pretty bright highlights and still retain that information and bring up shadows without it being too noisy. This camera honestly does it all. In conclusion, honestly, I think the Canon 1D-X Mark II is still one of the more relevant cameras in 2021. While a lot of camera companies these days are focusing on putting in more Ks into the image and getting 8K or even the new Blackmagic 12K, which is ridiculous, sometimes just having a nice good sensor and shooting in 4K is all you need. And honestly, in 2021, this camera is still the first thing that goes into my bag anywhere that I go. And this camera, in my eyes, will be relevant for a long time. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment if you like this and want to see more videos like this. Honestly, I love doing these sit-down style videos where I get to just kind of break down what's in my camera bag and hopefully teach you all a little bit. So if you like this style of video, let me know, and I'll see you all in the next. Where'd you go?